Kia ora, I'm Andrew Watkins and this is Voluntarily. In this video we're going to take a look at the code for the School Ready goal card, which involves video quizzes and badges. So here's the page you see when you're first signed in as a volunteer. You'll see this Get School Ready card. So I click on it, turn it over, and I can see I've already been through it once, but I can now, so the start button has changed to continue. But if I go there, it'll take me to this page that says, are you school ready? And what we have here is a training video followed by some questions. So let's take a look at the code that allows us to do that. So the function underlying that page is called a quiz, or specifically we export a thing called a video quiz. And that's quite a simple page component, has a title, a description, an iframe which we embed the video in, which has a source property, and then a question group, which is the list of questions. Finally, we have a handle success button, function that is called when you can successfully complete the question group. And if it's successful, we call the issue badge function with the badge class that's associated with the quiz. So let's take a look at where this quiz comes from. Now, currently this is not a database entity. It's simply a plain JavaScript entity, and it's associated with the page that shows the quiz. So when we're looking here at the Goal School Ready page, we'll see ourselves here in pages goal school ready.js. And so this is a very straightforward top level JavaScript Next.js page. All we're really doing here is setting the title on the tab and then embedding the video quiz with the initial value of the video quiz, the person that's logged in, and what we want to do after the quiz has been completed, which in this case is simply return to the home page. And the rest of the page is essentially the data for the quiz. And this is a title, a description, a source, which can be a link to YouTube, at the badge class that will get allocated when the quiz has been completed successfully, and I'll come back to that in a minute. And then the questions, and the questions are always multi-choice questions, so that we don't have to worry too much about different forms of implementation, interpreting text type answers and things like that. So each question is given a slug ID so that we can refer to them, a question, what does Vaughan have on his t-shirt, and one or more options which are going to be the answers and put into a set of radio buttons. Obviously we need to be able to mark the quiz once people's put it in, and so in the page here we are listing the answers. Now the answers aren't made available to the client directly. You'll see that we encrypt them before we send them down to the users. Obviously these answers are available in the code base, so if you're smart enough to go and look up that, then you could bypass the test. But this is really just an honor system. It's not a degree exam, and so it's not worth your while. It's just the point is to watch the video and then just demonstrate that you understood some of the things that were being told you in the video. So we go back to the quiz component here. When it's successful, we're calling issue badge with the given badge class, and that's just this function here which makes an API call to issue that badge. And then here's the question group. So you'll notice that all of our more recent components are modern form functional components. We've stopped using classes now, and so we're using hooks use state for a very simple form, in this case for the values of the answers that come from each question. And what we're doing here is rendering each question in turn with the appropriate text and the list of options, and when the person clicks on one of the options, onChange gets called, which updates the field, and we set the name for that test to the new value. So at the end of a certain amount of work, we'll have the form local value, state value here, set to the list of answers the person wants to do. And then when submit is called, we will hash object verify that list of answers against to a key, which is my email address, and the answers that have been given to me in this question group when it was initialized. So if we look at ready.js, we'll see it has a get initial props. Now this is because we're running Next applications, get initial props is this whole page is actually rendered server side and sent down to the user, and so get initial props is called while the page is being generated on the server, and so it's passed in a store, and we initialize VQA to this local database here, and then we use a function, a hash function, to hash the answers in that we have here into a string of base 64 characters that has been hashed with the key, which is the person's email. So that means that the answers come down differently for each person. And then when we are checking the answers, we're not decoding the hash, we're just using the same hash function to encode the person's answers, and then we're just comparing to see if the two strings are the same. So there is it's almost not necessary to encrypt the answers, but we're doing so to make a little bit more careful. But also you'll notice that anybody can call the allocate issue badge function here at the moment, and so you could just simply issue yourself with the appropriate badge if you knew the necessary badge class. But that in its turn ultimately will move this back onto the server side, so that you will have to have some sort of magic token that says you have you've successfully passed the quiz and you now have the right to issue the badge. But for now, it's pretty easy to bypass. Here's the hash function. We're using SHA-256, and what we're doing is canonicalizing the object with the list of answers into a sorted array of answers. This is just so that if you answer the question in a different order, you can obviously, in JavaScript, the keys don't have to be in a specific order in an object, and so we're just ensuring they're in the same order so that the two hash functions for the same set of answers are the same for each person. So that's all there is to quizzes at the moment. Let's just take a look at badges. Badges are a key function in the platform here. Badges are micro-credentials, and although there is a badge database collection, we don't actually issue or manage the badges directly ourselves. They're all handled on a third-party software as a service platform called Badger, B-A-D-G-R, which is based on the original badge code, OD Open Badges 2 code that comes from Mozilla. So that's where we have a voluntarily platform as an issuer defined. Once other organizations get involved in them voluntarily, they'll create issuers there too. So each organization can have its own badges that it's allowed to issue. And so when we're ready to issue a badge, we simply make calls to that service, and then the badge is emailed to the person, and we also get the newly minted badge back, and we store it in a localized collection here just so we can speed up identifying what badges people have been allocated. So the badge entity in the server API badge folder here is pretty classical. It's got a schema, it's got a name, an identity, the person that it's associated with, and the image that's shown on the page when it's displayed. So the badge controller is not quite so straightforward as the standard Mongo. There's a CRUDify functions. In fact, this is not a CRUD one. You can only ask for badges to be listed and issued. So if I look in my database, I can see this badges folder here, and I can see the allocated badge. It's a little bit cryptic, but the key thing here is that the person has, this is my internal ID for my person, this is the badge class that's been issued, this is the ID for voluntarily that's issuing it, here's the reference point to the image, which is off-site, and also some information about when it was created and issued and things like that. So we're able to check badges are valid, that they have that they are still have not been rescinded, or they haven't gone out of date. Badges are able to be set to only be valid for a certain period of time. Okay, that's it for today. Kia ora.